If you know anything about me, you know that I absolutely love Godzilla. You know, the big, angry, scary lizard dude who shoots energy beams out of his mouth. Yeah, that guy. I love him, and I'm also really bad at fulfilling my promises on videos. So, impulsively, I decided I was going to make the Godzilla lore video now. And what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to be completely original, and I'm going to explain every single Godzilla theatrical movie as best I can. I'll be honest with you, a lot of these movies I have watched, but I barely remember them because some of them I saw ages ago, and some of them are just really not that great. So, here you go, at last, Godzilla lore and stuff. Humans test bomb, big lizard angry, lizard smash, smart humans use second bomb, big lizard dead. Big lizard comes back and fights spiky lizard, big lizard fights big gorilla, bullshit occurs. Big bug egg appears, humans are dumb and greedy, big moth fights big lizard, moth dies. Ghidorah shows up and causes trouble. Mothra asks Godzilla and Rodan to stop fighting and help her fight Ghidorah. They agree and eventually send Ghidorah packing. Godzilla and Rodan go to space to fight King Ghidorah. There's also a cure for cancer? Godzilla fights a big lobster. Godzilla has a son. It's awful. It's 1999 and humans have achieved world peace. All the monsters are put in a place called Monsterland. Aliens control monsters and make them attack lots of famous cities. Humans help, aliens call Ghidorah, monsters fight Ghidorah, all is well. I'm not explaining it, this movie was terrible. Godzilla fights gross trash monster. Cockroach aliens want to take over the earth and use Gigan and Ghidorah to cause trouble. A local manga artist helps Godzilla and Anguirus to fight them back. Aliens build robot Godzilla to fight Godzilla. Doesn't work. Godzilla's a bad guy again. He starts tearing stuff up whilst the Japanese, American and Soviet governments figure out what to do. The Soviets try to blow him up, the US stops this, and Godzilla's lured into a volcano. After the attack, Godzilla's cells are taken to a secret lab to be merged with plants, but a terrorist bombing destroys the labs and kills the daughter of the scientist enlisted to help. 5 years later, Godzilla's cells are merged with a rose and it makes Biollante. They fight and Godzilla eventually wins. Biolante's cells are released into space, and the girl's soul is free. Godzilla goes back for a nap.
Time travel!
It's a three-way battle between Godzilla, Mothra, and Batra. The UNGCC creates a second Mechagodzilla to fight Godzilla and also discover an egg which turns out to be a baby Godzilla. They discover that the baby has a second brain in its hips and figure it must be the same for his dad. They paralyze Godzilla, Rodan sacrifices himself and he kicks Mechag's ass. Godzilla's cells brought into space by Biollante are exposed to radiation from a black hole and eventually make Space Godzilla, who heads straight to Earth for a fight in a big crystal. Mothra's twin priestesses try to warn a psychic about it. Meanwhile, the JSDF have made Mogura as a replacement to Mechagodzilla. Space Godzilla turns up, fights Godzilla, kicks his ass and tries to turn Earth into a giant battery. Mogura and Godzilla team up to fight him and win. Godzilla and his son go back into the ocean. 1 year after Space Godzilla, it turns out Godzilla's body is beginning to change and it's pretty clear that he's soon going into nuclear meltdown. Not only that, a load of weird bugs have appeared from the ocean and started causing havoc. Turns out these bugs were mutated by the oxygen destroyer which killed the first Godzilla and the dubbed Destoroyah. Godzilla's condition grows worse, and he and his son are eventually lured to Tokyo in the hopes Destoroyah will kill Godzilla. Junior fights Destoroyah and seems to win at first, however, Destoroyah absorbs his DNA and kills him. Godzilla goes into supernova and Destoroyah is eventually defeated. Godzilla's slow death finally happens as the surrounding military cools his body down, his DNA being absorbed into his son, who becomes the new Godzilla. TriStar make a terrible mistake. Guess what? It's f***ing aliens again. A UFO absorbs Godzilla's DNA and transforms into Orga, who tries to swallow Godzilla, and the obvious happens. Japan creates an artificial black hole device to trap Godzilla forever, but it screws up and they eventually make car-sized dragonflies called Meganola and their queen Megagyrus. It's time travel again, it's weird. Godzilla is a ghost and is the villain again. Ghidorah's a good guy and helps Mothra fight Godzilla. They both get killed, but the humans get the upper hand and beat Godzilla back into the ocean. A new Godzilla turns up and the JSDF uses the original Godzilla skeleton to make a new Mechagodzilla who they call Kiryu. During one of their fights, Godzilla's roar awakens a spirit in the first Godzilla in Kiryu and he goes berserk, but eventually runs out of power. During their second fight, and helped by the trouble Akane Yashiro, they eventually manage to fight Godzilla off. Kiryu is deployed to fight Godzilla once again, but this time Mothra is summoned to help fight Big Lizard once and for all. During the final battle, Kiryu's spirit awakens once again, but Godzilla's roar, and he refuses to finish Goji off, instead using his thruster to drag them both into the ocean. Monsters are attacking all over the place, and you f***ing guessed it, aliens are back again and they claim to be helpful, but they're not, and they want to use humanity as a food source whilst mind controlling all the monsters. Godzilla is frozen in Antarctica at this point, but is released because he is immune to the mind control. He proceeds to kick ass all over the world, including fixing a terrible mistake, and eventually fight fights Monster X. The bad guy is killed and transfers energy to Monster X, who turns into Kaiser Ghidorah. Godzilla's pretty pissed about everything, but his kid shows up to calm him down and he goes back into the ocean after the fighting's done. Godzilla wakes up in response to the appearance of two other giant monsters called Mutos, and the humans eventually do the smartest move ever and let them fight. Godzilla is still a bit weak from his nap, but he eventually wins and goes back into the ocean. Godzilla wreaks havoc on a now panicked and disorganized Tokyo as he slowly seems to be evolving into a grotesque monster. The Japanese military hurl everything but the kitchen sink at him to no avail. Eventually the US get involved and manages to wear Godzilla out, but at the cost of a lot of stuff. Eventually scientists figure out that they can freeze Godzilla to finally put a stop to it before it reproduces or evolves again. It takes a lot, but Godzilla is eventually frozen solid. A load of eco-terrorists led by Tywin Lannister and Dr. Emma Russell create a device called the Orca and start waking up Titans in the belief that they need to repair the damage humanity have done to the Earth. However, they end up waking up a hostile alien called King Ghidorah, and Godzilla chases him across the Earth. After waking up Rodan, the military bombs Godzilla and Ghidorah, hoping to kill them both. Spoilers, it doesn't work, and Ghidorah wakes up the rest of the Titans under his rule. Monarch eventually revive Goji with the help of Mothra and head to Boston for a showdown. Godzilla eventually beats Ghidorah and assumes his place as king. Years after Ghidorah is defeated, his skull is used by a company called Apex Cybernetics in the hopes to construct a new weapon to defeat Godzilla and put humanity back on top of nature's pecking order. Meanwhile, a young Iwi girl Gia and Kong are driven off of Skull Island due to a catastrophic storm. With Kong now in his turf, Godzilla and Kong duke it out. After a few brawls, Godzilla wins and Kong ends up in a coma. Mechagodzilla appears and starts beating up Godzilla. The protagonists revive Kong and he teams up with Goji to defeat Mechagodzilla. Survivor's guilt. Godzilla and Kong are begrudgingly forced to team up against the Scar King and his imprisoned kaiju Shimo before they can head to the surface and create a new ice age. Godzilla gets a new look after a whole lot of murder, and Kong gets a new gauntlet. Also, Mothra is revived. They eventually beat the Scar King, free Shimo, and Godzilla goes back to his usual state, napping. And that's it. That's every theatrical release of a Godzilla movie explained to the best of my abilities. Thank you guys so much for your patience. I know this one took a while because I'm an autistic mess, and I honestly, I lose track of things, but it happens. But there you go, the video's been made. Please don't hate me. In all seriousness, thank you guys so much for watching this, especially a big shout out to Joe Cat, who actually drew this image of me in a kaiju suit. Ain't he adorable? If you guys want to keep supporting my work, please consider heading over to my Patreon, or if not, please consider just subscribing to the channel. It shows me that you guys really want to see more of these videos. And as the new year comes, I am desperately trying to plan to make some more and keep on a more consistent schedule. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope to see you next time.